Hi boys and girls, and welcome back to the last video for this week. We are going to be making a collage, and a collage is when we take a bunch of different papers that we cut out and we make one artwork with all those papers. Now today our collage is going to be a hamburger collage. So we're going to start with our background. So I have my background right here. And we need a spot to put our hamburger. So we are going to need a little table and our plate to start our artwork today. So I have some paper off to the side, which means we also need scissors and either glue or tape today. I'm going to use my glue stick and some scissors. And I'm going to start by getting a paper that is the same size as my background paper. So we can see here, they are the same size. And what I'm going to do is I want to see how tall do I want my table to come. Do I want it halfway or closer to the bottom? Now I'm thinking somewhere around here will be good. We can use, let's see, this finger. And what I'm going to do is place a little dot and a little dot, and that is my guiding line. And now I can take my scissors and I'm going to cut all the way across. So here we go. So now I have my table on my background. So I'm going to take my glue stick and I'm going to glue my table down. Now, if you don't have a bunch of construction paper that you can use for this project, what you can do is draw your background on one white piece of paper, right? And then you can draw your hamburger on another piece of paper and glue that down. So I'm just making sure that this is lining up. And as always, remember, we flip over our paper and give it a nice massage. Now, I'm going to take a smaller piece of paper. Notice that this isn't the size of my background. It's a little smaller. And I want to make my plate using this paper. So I'm going to take my marker and I'm going to put a dot. Let me use a darker color so you guys can see it. A dot here and a dot here. And what I'm going to do is draw an oval for my plate. Now you don't want to draw a circle because we're looking at this plate from a different point of view. So we want it to be an oval. Now I'm going to take my scissors and cut out my plate. And I might grab a crayon and just add kind of like a little line that shows it is curving around. Okay? There we go. So now I'm going to take my glue again and glue this down. Now something you might want to do, I forgot to do this, is you might want to add a pattern to your table. Now this is optional. You don't have to do this at all. You can use a different color. I just kind of want to add some dark purple stripes to my purple table. And now I can take this and place down my plate. So now my background is all complete and ready to go. So the next thing I am going to be doing is starting to build my hamburger. Now the first thing we are going to need for our hamburger is the bun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my yellow piece of paper and I'm just going to cut off a little part. Now I want it to be able to fit on my plate. And I don't need it too big. Now that looks good. And what I'm going to do now is I am going to make my hamburger bun. So I'm going to start by making a U. And then I'm going to make this come all the way around. So that looks like a pretty good shape. And I'm going to cut this out so we can see what it looks like. Now, notice I'm being careful. I'm making sure I'm cutting on these lines. Now I can move my scrap off to the side. So now I need to cut this in half. So I get the bottom of my bun and the top of my bun. There we go. And what I'm also going to do is, let's see, add some texture by doing a little texture rubbing. Now, and then maybe my bun has some seeds on it. So I'm going to add little dots for the seeds. So there we go. I have the top of my bun and the bottom of my bun. Now I don't want to glue the top of my bun down, so I'm going to move that off to the side. But I am going to glue the bottom of my bun down. So we're putting glue on the back. And then I can place that down. Flipping it over and just rubbing it in. And now my top of my bun will end up somewhere up here, and we are going to fill this in with a bunch of different toppings and our hamburger patty and all the things that we will need on our hamburger bun. Now I just see that I have some little pieces trying to pop up here, so I'm just going to take my time and glue those down. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this off to the side. And now I can get some other little scrap papers. So I have big papers, but even if you have smaller scrap papers, because you'll notice I'll be cutting these to be smaller. So that looks good. You want to add all of these different things to your hamburger. So now, I'm going to add some strips here. Okay, so the first thing is we might want some cheese on our hamburger. So maybe we have some cheese. Now I'm just measuring to make sure that this isn't way bigger than my bun. I want it to be a little smaller, or just the same size, right? But I don't want it to be taking up the whole entire page. So I'm just making sure the pieces that I'm cutting are about that size. And for my cheese, I might want to just make a fold here, because now we're getting into paper cutting techniques. So this is going to be the part that we would end up gluing down, right? So now I'm going to take my scissor and I'm going to add some shredded cheese to my hamburger. So this is called fringe. So I am making some fringe designs. Into my construction paper. And if you want it to kind of be messy, we could crumple it so it doesn't sit perfectly on our paper. So there we go. We have some fringe. That looks great. Now, another thing you might want to do is if you get a long skinny piece, maybe this is some crunchy lettuce that I want to add. So I might add some zigzags for some crunchy lettuce. So just notice I'm folding my paper back and forth. And this way I get some crunchy lettuce. So I have my cheese, I have my lettuce. Now I might want to get some red and add that on to make a tomato. Now, I want to make 2 tomatoes, so I might take this longer piece of paper and fold it in half. And just the same way that we did the plate, we made an oval. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to make another oval. And I can go in and I can add details, right, to my tomato. So these are some things that you might want to do when you're creating. So now I'm going to take my scissor. Now, this is great because you'll see as I'm cutting, notice I'm moving. This hand moves the paper and this hand stays still. So we want to practice making sure we're cutting how we would cut in the art room, nice and carefully. And now I have 2 tomatoes. So here's one, and now I just have to add the details to the second one. So here's my tomato. Wonderful. So now I have 2 tomatoes. Maybe I want some pickles. So I'm going to do the same thing. Now I'm going to do 3 pickles this time. I'm going to challenge myself. So I'm going to fold this one time and then another time. And I'm going to draw my pickle right in the center of this. And that's also a smaller oval. Taking my scissor. And I'm cutting right on that oval line that I drew. And now I have 1, 2, 3 pickles. So I'm going to just go back and darken up some details for my pickles here. There we go. So now I have 3 pickles. Maybe I want to add another layer of cheese, but maybe this time I want it to be a little different. I'm kind of going to cut a diagonal. Maybe this is just like a slice of cheese peeking off. Delicious. And I can also make, let's see, some onions. So with my white piece of paper, I'm going to just cut a section. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to start big. Notice this is still the hand that's moving. Starting big. And I am going to make a spiral using my scissor. So I'm just cutting. Notice how I'm cutting now in a little bit. And here is this onion. And now I might want to go back and just take some parts and narrow them down so we could really see that spiral. And you can also get other little onion parts out of that. So there's one, maybe. So here are some onions that we can put on our hamburger. Now I need to make my bun. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna just bring back my paper and I can think, do I want 2 patties or 1 patty? So that's up to you. And I just don't want to make it so big that it's hanging off. So I'm just trying to measure how big I need it. So I'm just gonna cut one piece like this, and then I can cut this off here. And then I'm gonna do the same thing that I've been doing. So I'm gonna start here. Now this isn't really like an oval, it's kind of like curved edges of a rectangle. So it's a pretty thick patty. And now I might go and add some texture. Maybe I want to grab my black marker. And add some of that. Probably. There we go. So now I'm going to just cut this out. So here is my burger. So now I can start thinking, how do I want to lay this out? Because I have a lot of great pieces here, and I can't think of anything else that I need to cut out right now. So I'm going to start with maybe my cheese kind of hanging off the bottom here. All right, so I'm going to put some glue down, and I don't want to put it all the way at the bottom because I don't want it to hang totally off, but I'm placing that down here. Now maybe here I have 1 lettuce, and I'm gonna use these little ends to glue those down. maybe my next lettuce goes here. So I'm just making sure everything's laying as best as it can. Maybe I have a tomato that's kind of sliding down over here. So I might go back and add in that tomato. We have a great piece of cheese. There's my second tomato. There we go. So now I'm just making sure that I have enough room because I'm getting really close to the top now. Maybe I want to glue some onions down. Have it kind of wrapped around that crunchy piece of lettuce. I like the way that looks, so I'm just gonna round that out here. Kind of like it popping out off the page a little. So here's my burger. Burger. I have my cheese. Some delicious pickles. 1, 2. And then we'll put that right there. So see, I'm just working, I'm building, placing things down and testing them before I do go back and glue everything down. And last but not least, my burger bun. So there we go. And we have lots of great layers to a delicious hamburger. And we practice a lot of cutting techniques and using our scissors and glue the proper way. If you don't have glue, you can try this out with tape. And if you don't have all of these colors of construction paper, you can take white paper and color them or color the pieces that you're kind of cutting. So maybe I would color a section orange and then I would go back and add this fringe in to go glue these sections down. So these are totally up to you how you go about doing this project. If you have construction paper, you can make a nice vibrant hamburger collage. That would be wonderful. Okay, so that's totally up to you. I can't wait to see what you guys create, and I can't wait to see all the cutting techniques you used for your delicious hamburger.